to rumble?
I hope we don't rumble. I think we're just ready to record.
Ready to roll?
Ready to rock and roll. I almost sneezed and tripped over my words.
Rumble and roll.
I almost sneezed and then tripped over my words and stuff.
It's okay. It happens to the best of us.
It does. Hey, I'm Gail.
I'm Daphne.
And we're That's Disturbing.
Yeah, we're That's Disturbing. We didn't say that in sync that time.
No, you were getting ready to and then you stopped.
I was like, you're about to say it.
Yeah, we could have said it together. It's fine.
We could have, but we didn't.
For once.
I know, right? First time in our lives,
Right.
We didn't say something together.
At the same exact moment.
I know. We're crazy like that.
We are.
Right?
Right.
Oh, you didn't do it in sync. We're off tonight.
Sorry, my bad. Yeah, why are we off tonight?
I don't know. We're just not in sync with our words with one another. We normally can complete each other's
sentences and or say shit at the same time all the time.
Or finish each other's
thoughts.
Sandwiches.
Oh, gosh. I wasn't going to go there, but that's also true. Because you never eat your shit.
Yep, I would prefer to eat food.
You're nasty.
You nasty girl. All right, you want to give it a go? Tell everybody what they should do?
Oh, gosh, no.
Okay, I got this.
Okay.
So you guys should go follow us on our Instagram at That's Disturbing Podcast. Give us a like, give us a share, send us to your friends, post our shit on your stories so all of your followers can see it. Not our shit, our posts. Our posts are not shit. Okay?
Yeah, thanks. I'm like sitting here like, wow. You're shaming me?
Self-degrading.
Yeah, no, I think we're doing okay.
I think we're doing a great job.
Yeah.
The Instagram looks fabulous. We just need more people to go over there and follow us and like all of our posts. I don't know, maybe at some point we'll post a picture of the two of us, but you have to be on the Instagram to see that, to see our lovely faces and what we look like.
Right. And shout out to Nerdy Evie for saying to listen to us.
Yes.
Much appreciated.
Big shout out. That made both of our days.
Oh my gosh.
My mom came My mom came running at me and she's like, oh my God, I just checked the Instagram. Guess what? Somebody reposted us. And then we looked at it and we were like...
A mention.
Yes. Somebody mentioned us. They tagged us.
Yes.
So thank you, Nerdy Evie. We appreciate you.
Very much.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, somebody that we don't know listens. We're not sending this to all of our friends being like, listen to us. Well, we are. But...
I feel like most of our friends don't really listen, which is sad because they're all like, oh yeah, I keep forgetting. Oh yeah, remind me. It's like, fucking listen. God, you're a dick.
I really loved that one case. You know, the one.
Right? Which means you didn't fucking listen.
Right. The one case, you know, with the guy. What guy?
Right. So we have I can think of 5 of our friends who actually are listening, but I feel like we have more than 5 friends. Between the two of us.
I don't know if that's 100% true, but...
Between the two of us, we have more than 5 friends.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Although 2 of the people that I'm thinking of are probably, 3 of them. 4 of them. Most of them are all both of our friends.
Yeah. Most of them are all both of them. That was good English.
Yeah. You know how it goes.
Good English, Mom.
You know how it goes.
Can't English ever.
Nope. Okay, finish telling people what to do.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm just having fun with myself. Using both of my multiple personalities.
Creepy.
To have a conversation. And you should head over to our website, that's disturbingpodcast.com, where you can send us a case request form and we can give you what you want because we want to know what you want to listen to and what you want us to research and find out all the juicy goss on. And so...
Wow, I feel like you've watched too much reality TV lately. Just by your verbiage.
I've been watching so much reality TV. I would die if anybody from the challenge listened to us. I'd be like, I've succeeded. They know I'm out there.
I can die a happy woman now.
They know I am out there.
Right.
And they're listening. And our Gmail. You can also send us a case request over there. Our Gmail is that'sdisturbingpodcast@gmail.com. Surprise, surprise. It's at gmail.com since it is a Gmail account.
Well, you don't say.
I did just say that.
Nice.
All right.
Thanks, Daff.
Are you ready for my disturbing fact?
Oh my gosh, I'm dying.
This is crazy.
Because you said it was super disturbing.
Yeah, super disturbing.
Love it.
Fruit Loops are all the same flavor.
I love Fruit Loops.
Yeah, did you know that they were all the same flavor?
No, but it kind of makes sense. Because I feel like they don't taste different. They're just different color.
I feel like I get the same flavor in every bite.
Yeah, but I don't think I ever really separate them out and like do a taste test. And I also...
Well, I guess there's no point in it now. The truth is out.
Yeah. And I also just love them. So even if they taste the same or different, I love them.
Yeah, I agree. I love Fruit Loops.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's not actually my disturbing fact. We're on to it.
Okay. That wasn't disturbing.
Teaser.
It was just
that
interesting.
was a teaser.
Okay.
Okay, today we're going to be talking about a disturbing animal. And that is, or amphibian? I don't know. I guess I should have looked this up. I think it's not an animal because it lays eggs. Just kidding. And that would not make it an amphibian either.
Amphibians can lay eggs.
Do chickens? Are chickens amphibians?
No, chickens are avian.
That might be what this is. But avians fly.
It's a lizard. Lizards are reptiles.
Oh, we're going to talk about reptiles.
I'm like, and I had to think about it. I'm like,
well, I guess it's still an animal.
And I think never mind. I'm not even going to, because I don't want to look it up.
Okay. So we're going to be talking about the Texas horned lizard. You ever heard of this?
I have heard of the Texas horned lizard, but I don't know any disturbing facts.
So this is pretty crazy so basically they live in southern United States and Mexico, and they're super camouflaged, hide in plain sight, but they're just whack ass animals. Okay. Let me tell you why.
Whack ass reptiles.
So they're only about 7 centimeters long. They look like a little baby dinosaur if you see one. But they normally flatten their bodies on the ground to help them camouflage, right? Like hide themselves from predators. But it doesn't always work out, obviously, for them to hide themselves from predators. So basically what they do to try and hide themselves from predator or like defend themselves, I'm sorry, not hide, but defend themselves. It like turns on its side and exposes its spikes on its back to the animal. And then if the animal is still like, no, I'm going to fuck with you, it'll puff up like a puffer fish.
Uh-huh.
And then if it proceeds to still be like, no, I'm going to fuck with you, it shoots blood out of his eyes.
Ew, gross.
That's like a chemical deterrent, basically, from that. Yeah, it's just like I think they get it from their venomous ants that they eat. But it basically just creates this chemical that's like how we spray bitter apple spray on our things so our dogs won't chew on them. Yeah, good puppies. Yeah, they shoot this shit out of their eyes, this blood, and it deters if the animal is proceeding to move through steps 1 and 2, then it'll get
trying to pass go
3. Yeah, it'll hit step 3. But it's so crazy because they're so spiky that even if an animal tried to like chomp down on it, like a coyote or a wolf or whatever, its horns, its spikes on its back would shove through the roof of their mouths.
Ow.
Yeah. Isn't that just crazy to think about?
Yeah, that's...
I mean, I guess it's survival of the fittest out there.
Right. I'm like thinking shooting blood out of your eyes.
Yeah, that's whack.
Right. It made me blink a lot when you said it. That's for sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the 2 horns, not the spines on the back, not the spikes on their spine.
The 2 horns like over their eyeballs.
Yeah, the 2 horns on their head would go through the roof. But their spikes would like basically make them choke to death and like slice their esophagus while swallowing.
Ew. Wow.
Yeah.
You got to really fucking want that snack.
Yeah, you're going to die.
Right.
You're going to die if you attempt it.
Right.
You must be starving enough to die.
Dying for that snack.
Yeah. You're literally dying for that lizard.
Yeah.
All right. Enough of the mumbo jumbo. What do you have for me today?
Okay.
Not that it's mumbo jumbo, but I feel like people have waited long enough for us to get into the case.
Okay. We do that rambling thing sometimes.
Yeah, we do.
All righty. So today's case is Alvin Karpis, and he was one of the FBI's public enemies #1. And the FBI is the one that called it public enemies #1, plural.
Okay.
Okay. So born Albin with a B, not a V, like later, Alvin. Born Albin Francis Karpis.
Oh God, we had this.
I had this.
Yeah, she was actually practicing before we started.
Yeah, because Daphne doesn't think that I practice.
Well, considering you did it when we were sitting down getting ready to record.
Yeah.
It's not much practice.
No, I was practicing earlier. Karpis. There it is. Karpis. Okay. August 10th of 1907 to Lithuanian immigrant parents, Jonas and Ona, same last name. In Montreal, Canada. And when he was young, his family moved to Wichita, Kansas.
Okay.
Because of the American accent, or because America, his parents became known as John and Anna, and Albin became known as Alvin.
Okay.
Because,
Right, because people can't bother to learn how to say other people's names.
Right. So they're like, hey, we're just going to call you this. It's kind of close to what your name actually is. So I hope that's cool. We're just going to go with this.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Or not.
Right. Hey,
or disrespectful. But then again, that's us. We're just going to call him Alvin K.
Right.
For his birth name.
Right.
But it's hard.
That was
Names
hard.
are hard.
But I don't think Jonas and Ona are hard.
No, I don't
To be like,
either.
yeah, hey, now you're John
Neither
and Anna.
is Albin.
Albin is not hard.
It's just not American.
No, it's Lithuanian.
Duh.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So as a young boy, by the age of 10, Alvin became involved with bootleggers, gamblers, and pimps. So this is 1917, right?
Ooh, are you presenting me with a gangster case?
I am presenting you with a gangster case. Well, obviously, one of the FBI's public enemies #1. So in 1926, he was arrested for attempted burglary and was sentenced to 10 years at the State Industrial Reformatory. Geez, I can't even say English words. In Hutchinson, Kansas. He managed to escape with another inmate, Lawrence DeVole, and the pair went on a year-long crime spree. After DeVole was rearrested, I should say, Alvin stayed with his parents briefly. Then he was caught stealing a car and was sent back to the reformatory. Then he was transferred to the Kansas State Pen in Lansing, Kansas. And he's transferred because obviously he got out of the reformatory. So they're like,
he's not even like 20 years old at this point.
1927. So he is 20 years old.
I thought you said he was born in 1909.
1907.
Oh, so he's exactly 20.
He's exactly 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa. I mean, I guess people do a lot worse younger. Like we've heard of kids that murder.
Right.
But
kids that kill.
Yeah. I'm just like, whoa.
Whoa. Yeah. No,
whoa,
he's 20.
Man.
He's 20 by this point.
He's a baby doing crazy things.
Well, he started at 10. So he was a baby.
He's wilding out, dude.
No shit. No shit. Okay. So it was in the state pen where he met Fred Barker of the quote, Bloody Barkers, as they were dubbed by the press. Fred was locked up for bank burglary. So for robbing a bank.
Nice.
But that was the charge was bank burglary, right? So a little about the Barker family, because, you can't say Bloody Barkers and then people are going to be like, what? Bloody Barkers? Need to know more. Do tell.
Do tell me about the Bloody Barkers.
I'm telling you, just a skosh.
Are they dogs? They screaming their heads off?
Wow. Okay. So a little about the Barker family. Herman Lloyd Arthur, known as Doc, and Fred were the sons of Ma Barker. The family were poor sharecroppers. What's sharecropping, you might ask? Sharecropping is a system where the landlord/planter allows a tenant to use the land in exchange for a share of the crop. This is encouraged for tenants to work and produce the biggest harvest that they could, and that would ensure that they remain tied to the land and unlikely to leave for other opportunities. Because it's just like this vicious cycle of like, you're living on my land for free and you're going to grow a bunch of stuff and I'm going to take a share of what you're growing. And then basically you're only going to be able to sell enough to just kind of feed your family and clothe them. And you can't get out.
They're in this endless cycle. But Mom, I feel like you shouldn't have shared that information with people, because then I could have gone in and been like, well, if you want to know, you should have listened to the Lawson Family Massacre. That was also broken down in that case.
It was.
Yeah. So if this is your first episode, you're going to have to retroactively listen or start from the beginning, because they all kind of build on one another. Are like little funny inside jokes or not funny, whatever.
Funny or not funny, whatever.
We think we're funny.
Right. So, as you noticed from the introduction, all of the Barker children are boys, and somehow they all turned into hardened criminals. And probably because they grew up really poor and stuff, right?
Right.
So they're robbing banks and killing people without even being provoked. Ma Barker herself was not a criminal, but she was 100% there for her boys. She went to their parole hearings. She harassed wardens and governors for the release of her sons. And she would hide out with them when necessary because she's a really good mom.
Are you calling her Ma?
Ma, M-A. That's what they called her, Ma Barker.
I wasn't sure if you were saying Mob Barker.
Like Bob Barker?
Yeah. with an M?
No, Ma, M-A, Ma Barker.
Okay. I was like kind of lost in the sauce, because then you're like, I'm like, were there women gangsters at this time? All right, sorry.
No, that's okay. I just raised my eyebrows because of course there were.
I mean, I feel like you don't hear about them too often.
No, not too often. But, of course
because, women's suffrage and all.
Because men.
Because men, yeah, basically.
Right. So Doc was given a life sentence in 1920 after murdering a night watchman. Herman committed suicide on August 29th, 1927, after being badly injured in a shootout with police in Wichita after robbing the Newton Ice Plant in Newton, Kansas with 2 other men.
Ooh.
Yep. So he robbed it, got away, and then he was getting caught. And then he was in a shootout with the police because they were catching up to him. And they injured him so badly that he shot himself. He killed himself. And Lloyd was sentenced.
Sucks.
It does suck.
And the Doc was sentenced to life or to death.
Life.
I thought you said to death sentence.
No. Doc was given a life sentence.
Oh, okay. And then the death happened of his brother.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Herman committed
Sorry.
suicide. That's okay.
I was like, a sentence and a death.
Yes.
Let's combine them. A death sentence.
Nice.
What do you mean? To be fair, life in prison is a death sentence.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, well, pretty much.
Right. Unless you're like the one case we covered where it was like, oh, he was in there for 9 years. So that's not really much of a life sentence because he died after that.
Right. He died in prison. Right. So it was his life.
Yeah. Oh, it was killer.
It was, yeah.
It was killer.
Yes. From the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Also should listen to that. That was good.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Sorry. I will let you proceed. I'll stop tooting my own horn. Toot, 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 toot.
So Lloyd was sentenced to 25 years in 1922 for mail theft, and he was released in 1938, which isn't 25 years if you can math, and went into the army and was a cook at a POW camp. And then he was killed by his wife in 1949.
Jesus.
Right? So, these people aren't making the best
decisions.
Right. So that's the Barker family in a nutshell. Should
you explain what POW is? Prisoner of war. There you go, people. Audience, in case they don't know.
That's fair.
Well, I feel like we don't know what they're teaching in schools anymore. I don't know how old all of our listeners are, but I will say if you're like under 18, maybe listen with a parent.
Or parental supervision required.
Or don't at all. Definitely if you're younger than like 16, turn us off.
So anyway, yeah, that's the Barker family in a nutshell.
Nice.
Right.
Good, solid individuals.
Right. So in 1931, Alvin was released and he met back up with Fred Barker in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Sorry. What the fuck? Tulsa, Oklahoma, and formed the Barker-Karpis Gang. This gang was no joke. They were one of the most notorious of the 1930s. These gangs of the 1930s were known as the Depression era gangs. And, because during the Great Depression, times were tough and some people resorted to a life of crime.
Right.
So this gang robbed several banks, hijacked mail, and kidnapped people. Alvin got his name, Alvin Karpis, because of his creepy and sinister smile. And the members of his gang called him Ray or Slim.
Oh, Ray or Slim.
Right. And Slim makes sense if you look at his pictures, but like Ray, I don't know.
What, like a ray of sunshine or
That's
not?
what I was thinking. Like he's a ray of sunshine, but maybe just because like they don't want to use their real names if they're like robbing. So like, hey, Ray, instead of saying Alvin.
Hey, Slim.
Right, exactly. Like how, I don't want to go into the whole thing, but like how they call him Pigeon. Come here, Pigeon, and stuff like that. But obviously their name isn't really Pigeon, except for in that one.
Get over here, Cinnamon.
Right. Yeah. So the gang killed anyone who got in their way. And I mean anyone. Innocent bystanders were often targets of the gang.
Targets or just happen to be in their way?
Targets, because, they're in the way. And so they're like, hey, you're in my way. So
you're gone.
Yeah, I'm going to shoot you. So on December 19th, 1931, Karpis and Fred Barker killed Sheriff C. Roy Kelly, who was investigating the gang's robbery of a store in West Plains, Missouri. After killing the sheriff, along with Ma Barker and her lover, not married.
Ooh.
Arthur Dunlap. Oh, sorry. Her lover, Arthur Dunlap.
Her lover.
Went
Arthur
Dunlap. Went to St. Paul, Minnesota. One gang member, Fred Hunter, said that Alvin was the brains of the operation, and he was known to be very smart and at least as far as criminally, right?
Right.
It was also said that he had a photographic memory. The other leaders of the gang were Doc and Fred Barker. And the gang was made up of about 25 people.
Oh, that's a lot.
That's a lot to like keep track of.
It's a lot to handle. It's a lot of heads to count.
Right. Especially
make sure, like, are you all here?
Right. And how do you rob a bank?
Which one of you died?
How do you rob a bank with 25 people? Maybe they split it up.
My question is, how do you keep track of all of them if you don't know? Like, I guess I am probably over assuming here. If they're like, yo, Slim, do they even know his name is actually Alvin?
I don't know.
Or Alvin, sorry. Referring to his OG name.
Right.
His childhood name.
His given name.
Yeah, the original given name. Anyway, no, what I'm saying is, like, if you're like counting heads and there's 25 of them and they're like, roll call. I
don't know if gangs take attendance. Just saying.
They're like, yo, Cub, are you here? And then Cub doesn't remember his name is Cub, his alias, so his head is down.
Oh my gosh. So he doesn't get counted as...
He's like, I wonder who Cub is, scratching his head.
Thank God. Daff. Oh, I think you are over assuming. As
I'm
you
just
said,
picturing myself being there and being like, if one day somebody decided to call me something other than Daphne, if they were like, yo, Stapler, I would be like, I might forget that after 20 minutes. You decided to call me Stapler.
Oh, yeah, that's me. I'm Stapler.
So if I get called out as Stapler, my head is probably down, like, well, they're not talking to me.
And then you get counted as absent.
Yes.
I'm just thinking, okay, so reeling it back in, I'm thinking if there are 25 people in the gang, they're probably all out kind of like doing their own thing, right? And then they have to bring all of their take back to the main clubhouse or whatever. And
to the clubhouse, to the playhouse,
to the fort, and divvy it up. Right?
To the crib.
Yeah, it wasn't a crib back then.
Well, it is today.
Right, it is today.
Yeah, they had to divvy it all. But again, if Cub is absent.
Shit. I think you went way, way far off the rails.
Went way in over my head on that one.
Right.
I was just imagining myself being in a room with this happening.
Oh, shit. Okay. It has always been kind of a rumor or a fictional tale or whatever you want to call it that Ma was the leader of the gang calling the shots, but there's no evidence to support this. So like if you look up like old gangster movies and stuff like that, they always portray Ma Barker as like the leader of the Bloody Barkers.
That's what you were saying, that she's the woman boss.
Right, but she wasn't.
Mob boss.
She wasn't. But I'm just saying that there were women. Like, think of Bonnie and Clyde, right? Bonnie was a chick.
Yeah, she was.
Right.
But there was also Clyde.
I can't think of any others, but I'm sure there are. But anyway, so there's no evidence to support it. And people who actually knew her said that she couldn't even plan breakfast.
Oh, gosh.
So, you know, I'm thinking probably wasn't the leader.
It's probably hard to plan breakfast for 25 individuals. And write name tags and remember who's who.
Shit.
They might not even know.
Oh, my gosh.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm just stuck on it.
Apparently.
I just think it's so funny.
So in 1933, the same weekend as the Kansas City Massacre, which was not carried out by the Barker-Karpis Gang.
I've heard of that.
Right? Because it was that Depression era gang stuff.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of shit happening. During that same weekend, the gang kidnapped William Ham, who was a Minnesota brewery president, and he was a millionaire.
Ooh.
And they took him from outside of his office, and the gang demanded $100,000 ransom.
Oh.
And they were paid.
Did somebody pay it?
Yeah, they paid, and then they released him. How much is $100,000 from 1933 to today?
Let me look. 100K?
1933 to now.
Okay, I just looked it up. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
2,300,307.69.
Well, and you have to split that 25 ways. Don't forget.
Divided by 25.
So anyway, so they were paid and they released Ham. And next, they kidnapped St. Paul, Minnesota banker Edward Bremer, and they
each made $92,000 in today's money.
That's a lot of money. So they kidnapped this banker, Edward Bremer, and they demanded $200,000 ransom for this guy. So they're doubling what they want. And his family paid to get him back. So, but this was the beginning of the end for the game because Edward Bremer's father was friends with Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who's the president at this time.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, you don't want to.
With FDR?
Yeah, FDR, exactly. So FDR then tasks J. Edgar Hoover with bringing down the gang and other gangs like it. Because they're like, we're so fucking.
To come to an end.
Right. We're over this fucking shit.
Well, it's also, I mean, it doesn't help. It's Great Depression times to begin with, right? Mm-hmm. So there's an increase in poverty, obviously, lack of food, lack of shelter, you know, just lack of essential everyday things that you would live off of.
Right.
And lack of work to help provide for yourself and get you those essential daily things that you would need.
Right.
And then, you know, when there's poverty, there's violence. But this sounds like this is just beyond violence. Like this isn't like petty theft.
No.
This is like insane.
Yeah, they're just straight up vicious.
It's like perpetuating the Great Depression.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
it's making it worse.
Yeah. Yeah, because, you know, you can't just take it because it's not yours.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't have it and you want it. You can't just take it. Right.
Well, I feel like there's a difference between being like, oh, I need to steal this box of cereal for my family. Loops. Yeah, though that's what was on my brain. Thank you. For Fruit Loops. I need to steal this for Fruit Loops. I need to steal this box of Fruit Loops to feed my family today, right? Or for the next week, whatever. You know, people stretch their meals. Mm-hmm. As opposed to being like, well, I'm going to kidnap this person because I want 100K. And if you don't deliver, I'm going to shoot you.
Right. Exactly.
Large difference.
True.
It just makes the times worse.
True. So with the rise in all of these types of gangs and the violence that they created, the FBI organized a group of specialized agents called the Flying Squads. The agents... Right?
Ooh, the Flying Squad. The aviation crew.
So the agents specialized in hunting down the leading public enemies. They were good at their jobs, but not great. They were good. They brought down many well-known criminals such as John Dillinger, Bonnie and Clyde, Charles Pretty Boy Floyd, Lester Gillis, aka Babyface Nelson, and that's just to name a few. Yeah, a totally different name.
Right.
But I mean, everybody's heard of Babyface Nelson, right?
No.
Okay. Well,
that's going to have to be your another one.
My another one.
Another one that you present to me.
Down the road. Present to?
Present it to me because I would love to. I love this stuff. I eat it up.
I know, right? Me too. And John Dillinger. Oh my God. I can't even tell you. I
don't even know who that is.
Oh my God. How do you know? I've not raised you properly. I have not done you justice.
I know who Al Capone was.
Good job. So,
but mainly because he went to Alcatraz.
Right.
And I just know about Alcatraz.
And the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Or did you know about that before you did it?
I didn't know about it before I did it.
Oh my God. I failed you as a mother.
I know who Big Ange is.
Okay. Redemption is yours.
I got my redemption.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, when I was a kid, John Dillinger, oh my God, I don't know why. I told you I've been obsessed with this stuff forever. But there's a John Dillinger museum in Indiana. And I went there with my gram because my gram lived in Indiana and she knew that I liked that kind of stuff. And she took me to the John Dillinger
Your
museum.
gram took you to that kind
my
of
gram.
stuff.
My gram, who wouldn't say shit if she had a mouthful of it, took me to the John Dillinger Museum.
That's funny.
Yeah, but it was awesome. She just was fueling my love of this kind of stuff, which again,
cool.
It's bad because it's crimey. But it's so interesting.
It is. No, I don't think it's bad to. Well, that's why I like to put an emphasis on the fact that, like, I'm not like, oh my God, I love true crime. I'm like, no, I'm interested in true crime. I'm interested in the way that the human mind works and that mobsters think that they're owed everything.
Or if they want it, they'll just take it.
Well, I feel like that's thinking that you're owed everything.
Maybe. So shortly after Ma and Fred Barker's death in a shootout with FBI agents on January 16th, 1935, Alvin almost met a similar fate, but he managed to escape. The FBI found him in Atlantic City. Karpis and Henry Campbell shot their way out and escaped. With them were Dolores Delaney, Karpis's pregnant girlfriend. She's 8 months pregnant. She was
sad.
Accidentally shot in the thigh by Campbell in all of the chaos.
That's really sad.
So she was captured by the FBI, and so was Campbell's girlfriend. But Campbell and Karpis got away. Yeah, they dipped. They got out.
That sucks for them.
Right.
Because they're probably, I mean, I don't necessarily believe that they were probably innocent in all of it.
Oh, I'm sure they weren't.
But, you know, they weren't the ones shooting people, I would assume.
Right. They probably weren't active participants.
They were just reaping the rewards.
No kidding. They were like groupies.
They were groupies.
But they were girlfriends. So, side note, Dolores gave birth to a baby boy who was adopted by Alvin's parents.
Okay, that's good.
Right.
What happened to her?
Who, her? The baby boy?
The girlfriends. What happened to them?
I think they got arrested, so they probably got prosecuted. I don't know. I didn't deep dive into that.
I was just wondering what happened to them. Did they like rot in jail or what?
I don't know. I guess.
I guess if the boy got adopted by Alvin's parents, then I think it's safe to assume that they maybe never got out.
Or they were just doing some time, you know, like accomplices or whatever.
Yeah.
And plus they were on the run with them.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're evading capture and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So who knows? Or maybe it's just because she was a single mom who couldn't support and raise a child. I did not go into looking at Dolores and Campbell's girlfriend, so apologize for that. Because I feel like I went off in a direction with the bloody Barkers, and I didn't want to like keep going like this way and that way and the other way.
Well, maybe we could make a note and you could find out what happened to them. We can talk about it at the top of the next episode.
Okay, will you make a note?
I would love to make a note of that.
Note to self.
Do that.
So Karpis and Campbell hid out for several months with a brothel keeper, Edith Berry. Karpis continued to commit crimes with other people, but he had to be constantly moving. Karpis was the fourth and final of the public enemies number one. The other three, John Dillinger, Pretty Boy Floyd, and Babyface Nelson, had all been killed by the FBI by this point.
Oh, He's the only one left. That's why he's public enemies number one. Although I feel like how much could he do acting alone?
Well, but he still had people. Like, he didn't have his gang, but he like organized people wherever he went and had people like help him do stuff. He's like, hey, want to make a quick buck? Come do this with me. Right. So while he was on the run, he robbed a train Old West style. So I'm assuming like the train was like going and he like jumped onto the train, robbed it, and then jumped off the train.
That's why I'm laughing, because you see that shit in movies, but I don't think I've ever heard a real life case of somebody doing that.
Here you go.
That's so funny.
Alvin Creepy Karpis.
They probably got it from him.
Maybe.
Well,
except for the Old West was before this time. He got it from them. He got it from the Old Western people.
He got it from them.
Anyway, his take on that train robbery was only $27,000, which is like peanuts compared to what he's been getting, right?
Right.
So, but I guess it'll get you by.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like he's still making a decent buck off of that.
Right.
Because everybody has pennies to their name at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
So
very true.
He's living large.
He is definitely living large. I will give him that. So supposedly while he was on the run and actively being pursued by the FBI, he sent a letter to J. Edgar Hoover that he was going to kill him, as Hoover was the director of the FBI and made the team of agents. However, the flying squads were a bit of a mess due to being at the mercy of the public, because you don't have GPS locators, you don't have like street cams, you don't have cell phones.
Right. They're sending this to each other via snail mail, basically.
Or you're calling because they have phones. So,
but if they want a picture,
right,
they're snail mailing this and being like, have you seen this man? Newspapers,
right?
Like they're relying on mass media.
Exactly. So they're at the mercy of the public, who often, either purposely or not purposely, sent them on wild goose chases with false leads known as red herrings, is what they call them. So in April of 1936, a U.S. Senate hearing was held to bring Hoover in to be like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
So Senator Keith McKellar of Tennessee bashed Hoover over the FBI's performance and the fact that Hoover, head of the agency, the director, had never personally arrested anyone.
Ooh.
Right?
That's a problem.
It is a problem.
Yeah.
How do you get to be the
task force?
Well, and how do you get to be the director of the FBI and you haven't actually performed?
Right. Like, how does that work? Well, I guess there's actually lots of ways that works. Like, people become the CEOs just due to the fact that they were born into it.
Right. It's who you know.
Right. Not because you actually performed and delivered.
Right. Exactly. So after the hearing was over, Hoover vowed to capture Karpis personally. So he's like, I'm going to get this motherfucker because I just got called out in public hearings by this senator.
By higher ups.
Right.
By the people who pay my bills.
Right. People who pay my salary just yelled at me. I just got bitch slapped.
Yeah, right.
So
my job may or may not be on the line.
So the hearings were in April of 1936. And on May 1st of 1936, the FBI located Karpis in New Orleans, and Hoover flew there to be in charge of the arrest.
Okay.
On May 2nd, 1936, the FBI swarmed Karpis's car and took him into custody. The official FBI records of the arrest say that Hoover reached into the car and grabbed Karpis before he could reach into the back seat of the car and grab his rifle. Karpis was the last of the Depression-era gangsters to be captured or killed, and he was the only one of the public enemies, number one, to be taken into custody and not killed. Because there were four. There were four of them.
So they got him without having to kill him. Without having to do a shootout.
Right. Even though how many times has he shot his way out of stuff, right?
Yeah. So that's pretty impressive that they actually got him without.
Yeah. Because they snuck up on him. And he obviously didn't know they were coming. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been just in his car.
Yeah. Just chilling.
Right. So
he could have been like, no, my name is Slim.
I'm Slim. Ray Slim.
Yeah, I'm Ray Slim. I am not Alvis Karpis.
Alvin.
Alvis. Wow.
So basically, Karpis only went on trial for the kidnappings of the millionaires because I don't know if they didn't really have concrete evidence about the other stuff, but they definitely had concrete evidence about these millionaires.
Okay, because they had witness testimony, I'm sure. Well, and they probably, in the other cases, like killing people, don't know who actually pulled the trigger.
Right. Well, and if you're writing a ransom note and you're signing it, the Barker-Karpis Gang.
Yeah.
your name's right on that shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So he pled not guilty at first. And as the case proceeded to trial, his attorney, Thomas J. Newman, said that his client was one of those involved in the kidnapping of Ham, and he wished to plead guilty to that crime. 2 weeks later, Karpis had his lawyer present to the court that he would also plead guilty to the Bremer conspiracy, not kidnapping, conspiracy, if the kidnapping charges were dropped. So kidnapping charges dropped in the case of
exchange
in Bremer.
for conspiracy.
Right. And so the court accepted the offer because otherwise he's going to go on trial, right?
I feel like he's given himself up.
Well, he's going to go on trial and it could go either way. Like the public could love him because, again, it's the glamour and the glitz and the blah, blah, blah. And they could be like, oh.
Right. He's
let
walking
him off.
in there rocking a gold tooth.
Or he can get, sentenced to death. Like firing squad or electric chair or whatever. So whatever the flavor of 1936 is.
Guillotine.
I don't know if that's the flavor of 1936.
I believe that, I think it was banned in like the 70s or the 80s.
Oh, shit.
At least in France. I don't know about the States, but I don't know if it was actually ever executed in the States.
If anybody was ever executed.
If it was ever executed, if anybody ever got it. Or maybe they hung him.
Could.
Yeah, maybe that was the flavor.
Yeah, whatever the capital punishment would be, right? So he wanted to exchange this kidnapping charge for just conspiracy, right?
Gotcha.
So the court agreed to it. He was sentenced to life and he was incarcerated at Alcatraz, which had recently been transformed into a federal pen because Alcatraz wasn't originally a prison, and that's a whole nother thing.
So it's an island.
Not even that, but like
it is an island.
It is an island, but it Alcatraz itself, the building and stuff, was two other things before it was.
What was it?
We'll talk about it some other time. Because I read about it, and actually that's where I got this story from, because I was reading about Alcatraz, and then I got this guy and I was like, oh, I never heard of this guy. But it's weird because I heard of all the other ones, like Babyface Nelson, the Barkers, Bonnie and Clyde, John Dillinger, big fan. Shout out, big Johnny.
Fan. Big fan of yours. If you're listening from beyond the grave, I would love a signature.
Autograph, picture, selfie, please.
Right. Stand behind me. Flash on.
Creepy. So Karpis was held in Alcatraz from 1936 to 1962, with the exception of 6 months in 1958 when he was transferred and held at Leavenworth Federal Penitentiary. But then he was returned to Alcatraz.
That's weird.
Right? I don't know. And
I thought they were just like going to be giving him a 6-month vacation when you started to say that. I was like, oh, wow, that's lenient.
No, they just sent him somewhere else. So, but then they sent him back to Alcatraz.
Right.
Karpis worked in the bakery and he was known to like fight with other inmates and guards. And like he was into like the shady dealings in Alcatraz, right? Because he's a career criminal. So he's not.
Right.
He's not being reformed by the prison system. Clearly, since he met Fred Barker in the prison system and they formed a whole ass gang.
Yeah. He's like asking his buds who come to visit him. He's like, yo, if you can keister me in some cigarettes, I'll get you some.
Oh, crap. So Karpis has the distinction of serving the longest sentence of any other inmate at Alcatraz.
Oh, wow.
Where he served 26 years.
Wow.
Right?
What year was Alcatraz shut down?
63.
Oh, yeah. So he's coming right up on that.
Right. So Alcatraz was in the beginning of closing its doors in 1962 because they have to get everybody out, right?
Sorry.
That's okay.
I can't see your notes right now, so otherwise I would have just let you continue.
No, it's okay. It's cool. It's, I do it to you too. I'm like, wait, what? Tell me that. Tell me more. Tell me more.
Did you get very far?
Oh my gosh.
Shibop up.
Shibop up, yeah. Well, let's don't do that anymore. We don't have a band. We shouldn't have a band. We'll need to stop now. Daphne's ready to do some little dancing. She's got her leather jacket on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm snapping my fingers. Shibop up. Shibop up.
So in April of 1962, Karpis was transferred to McNeil Island State Penitentiary in Washington State, where he, interestingly enough, met a young Charles Manson. Right? Isn't this a great story?
Reaction of mine. A young Charles Manson. So this is like when he was the MK Ultra project.
It's 1962.
Oh, so this is right around, or this is before, right before Charles Manson goes on to commit all of his crimes.
Right.
Because Charles Manson was arrested for conspiracy for everything in like the 70s?
Yeah, I think it all happened in the 70s, which I should know all that stuff, but I don't know the exact dates. But like,
I am fascinated by that because
I think everybody's fascinated by Charles Manson.
Well, because he never did anything. And then he,
Yeah, the Manson family murders.
Yeah.
All right. So back on that, Charles Manson family murders were committed in 1969.
Oh, shit. So that's
7 years after Karpis meets a young Charles Manson in prison.
Okay. So, wow, that's wild because maybe that had some influence on Charles Manson's.
Well, it's crazy, right?
Orders.
It's just a crazy segue. I don't know. I think it's an interesting fact.
It's super, because that makes me think that this guy like got people to do what he wanted them to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, Charles Manson wasn't like, hey, they did rob people, but to a different. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of my words. They rob people for like peace and love and happiness, right? We're like trying to get a race war started. But this guy was like, you want to make a quick buck? Help me out.
Right.
And Charles Manson was never like that.
No.
Like, come work for me and I'll make your dreams come true. No, he was like brainwashing the fuck out of these people.
Well,
and I feel like Alvin was not brainwashing the fuck out of people.
No, he was just getting people to do what he wanted them to do.
So maybe
apparently he was a great leader.
So maybe Charles Manson drew some inspo from that.
Maybe. But I don't know. You'd have to look into Charles Manson and see if he credits Karpis to any of the things that he did later in life.
Okay.
Right. Noted.
And it's just one of those cases that just drives me wild.
The Manson family murders?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Crazy.
This one's pretty fucking cool too.
No. This one's awesome. I love it.
So
I was just,
not cool.
That connection.
Interesting.
It's so cool the way that all this unfolded.
The unfolding is cool. I don't know. I just think like, okay,
no, it's super interesting that this is like real life.
Actually, I can't shut up because this is a podcast. But I'll stop going on about how
it's interesting that it's real life.
Right. It's
very
like, holy shit, this actually happens.
Right. This shit actually does like exist out there.
Right. So in 1969, Karpis was paroled, so he didn't actually serve life, and he was deported to Canada, although he had trouble getting into Canada and getting a Canadian passport because he had had his fingerprints removed in 1934 by a Dr. Joseph Moran. Dr. Moran was a friend to the gangsters. So he was like one of those doctors.
With bugs?
I don't know. Moron?
Whatever.
So, he's the guy that if you get shot, you're going to this guy to take the bullet out kind of thing.
Plus, I'm thinking, too, that Canada probably doesn't really want him.
Well, and that's what I was thinking, too. I'm like, why do they send the criminals to Canada? But he was born in Canada.
Right. Well, that's why they would need his fingerprints to like verify it's him because they take those upon birth. Right. I'm assuming.
I don't know if they did in 1907.
Well, it was just a thought that they probably do.
I don't know.
Gosh,
there's so many things to look up.
I know.
So eventually Alvin got into Canada and he settled in Montreal. He moved to Spain in 1973. And on August 26, 1979, he died, which was at first ruled a suicide because sleeping pills were found next to his body. Later, it was determined that he died from natural causes.
Dirty piece of shit.
Karpis wrote memoirs in 1971 and also a second one, which was published the year after his death in 1980. Robert Livesey, who co-wrote Karpis's 1979 book, thought that Karpis had been introduced to pills and alcohol by his girlfriend Nancy to give him a relaxing high, and perhaps he accidentally took too much and that led to his death. It's just speculation, but no autopsy was done.
He was in Spain, so I was going to suggest that maybe it was Miss Nancy Spungen, but not the case, obviously.
No. And also she died in 1978.
Yeah.
In his memoirs, he wrote on several subjects in his interesting life, right?
Yeah.
And he wrote things about some of the people that he encountered in his life. And so this one is a direct quote from his memoir. This is about Ma Barker. Ma was somebody in our lives. Love didn't enter into it really. She was somebody who looked after and took with us when we moved city to city, hideout to hideout. It is no insult to Ma's memory that she just didn't have the know-how to direct us on a robbery. So he's like corroborating the fact that like, no, she wasn't the mastermind at all. It would not have occurred to her to get involved with our business. And we always made it a point of discussing our scores when Ma wasn't around. We'd leave her at home when we were arranging a job or send her to a movie. Ma saw a lot of movies.
That's funny.
Right? He also talked about his FBI capture. He said that Hoover only came out after the other agents had seized him. And only then did the agents call Hoover over to say that it was safe to approach the car. When Hoover called for handcuffs, none of the agents had handcuffs on them. So he was tied up his hands were tied with a necktie. Also of note, the car that Karpis was arrested in was a Plymouth Coupe, which didn't have a back seat.
So how'd they get him in there?
Remember Hoover said that he went up to him and grabbed him out of the car right before he was reaching to the back to get a rifle?
Oh, so Hoover tried to make his story all big and buff and macho.
Right. And that's what went into the record, like the official FBI arrest record. That's what was said.
Well, yeah, I guess this guy wouldn't be lying about it if he was like, oh, I just wasn't quick enough to grab my rifle out of the backseat.
Right. Well, there was no backseat.
That's what I'm saying.
And Karpis also said that basically Hoover was a pussy because he wasn't even right up in the front trying to get him. He was like standing over there in the corner waiting for these other FBI agents to grab him and actually have him in custody to then swoop in and be like, oh, you're under arrest. So basically,
if only he shot blood from his eyes, it could have saved him. I'm just saying.
Shoot.
It might be nice sometimes to take a trick out of a reptile's book.
You never know when it could come in handy. Although it makes my eyes hurt thinking about that. Okay.
It's probably just like the same way that we tear up.
Yeah, but you don't shoot tears out of your eyeballs. Okay, so he also wrote of his encounter with Manson, and this is also a direct quote. The kid approaches me to request music lessons. He wants to learn guitar and become a music star. Little Charlie is so lazy and shiftless, I doubt if he'll put in the required time to learn. The youngster has been in institutions all of his life. First orphanages, then reformatories, and finally federal prison. His mother, a prostitute, was never around to look after him. I decided it's time someone did something for him. And to my surprise, he learns quickly. He has a pleasant voice and pleasing personality. Although he's usually meek and mild for a convict, he never has a harsh word to say or even get involved in any kind of an argument.
Okay, then.
Right? So that's it. That's all I have.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Did you like it?
I love it.
Yeah.
That's so interesting that this shit really happens.
Right. And that
I mean, I feel like we talk about it. I feel like we talk about it, but this one was just like the highest of highs. Well, not actually because people die, but like, you know, like it was like, it was a thrill.
Right.
Like this guy's life was like, I mean, I'm sure he went straight to the pits of hell.
Oh, I'm sure.
But like his life was like a thrill. Like this is the type of shit that people like to watch movies about.
Exactly. And again, I was reading something about Alcatraz, about the history of Alcatraz. And then
I would love if you'd bring us that too.
This guy's name came up and I'm like, oh, I've never heard of this guy before. I'm going to look him up. I'm going to research him. And turns out he's one of the public enemies #1. And of course, I've heard of the other ones. I heard of, again, shout out to John Dillinger and Babyface Nelson and Pretty Boy Floyd and the other ones who the FBI had apprehended but didn't, you know, like Bonnie and Clyde and
right.
You know, like I've heard of all of them, but I never heard of this guy. And he was
#1,
way up there.
He was at the top of the ranks.
He was in the top 4. So there were 4 that they kind of across the board, like these are 4,
all of them.
There are 4 public enemies #1.
Okay.
So they were like tied for
first place.
Yeah, tied for first place. So, yeah.
Did they get a trophy for that?
No, they got shot. They got killed.
They got a participation award for doing this, and their award was getting shot
and or incarcerated.
That's probably the greatest gift that he could have gotten.
Maybe. I don't know.
Or maybe he wished he died. I don't know. But then if he died, we wouldn't have gotten his words, his memoirs.
Right. Yeah.
Which, oh my God, I'm like interested. I want to read his memoir.
Yeah. Yeah. He has some shit to say.
Maybe it's on Audible, which they should sponsor us at some point because I love Audible, but I feel like we're kind of early for that.
Way early.
Well, wishful thinking. If you're listening, Audible.
Yeah, that's all you need. All you need is to put it out there in the universe, manifest that shit.
Oh, I know. I'm listening to a book right now on Audible. It's called Local Woman Missing. Mm-hmm. It's so good. I'm like, just everything about it, everything about this author, and then the presentation style. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so good. So I wonder if his books are on Audible. If they are, going to have to get them because I like to listen while I'm driving.
Well, I have one of the books, the one that was the second one that was written, in the show notes. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I thought you were going to say you had it in the flesh, and I was like, and you never heard of this guy?
No. It's, no. It's called On the Rock, 25 Years in Alcatraz, although I spent 26. So
it's more catchy to say 25.
Right. The prison story of Alvin Karpis as told by Robert Livesey.
Oh, nice.
Right. Very fancy.
Oh my gosh. No, I love this episode. This is so cool. You were right. You were hyping it up for a reason.
Yeah. I was super excited. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool.
And also just apologies at the end that we have not been sucking. We have our new system, like we talked about in the last episode, that has just been hard to navigate. And I am studying for midterms and the GMAT coming up, and my mom is just crazy at work. And so life is just nuts as it's never going to slow down. But I feel like there's times where it's more busy and it's less busy. And when I'm sitting at a computer for 8 hours a day doing schoolwork, I'm like, I don't really want to, do this at the moment.
Right. So we've recorded 2, haven't edited either one, and we're hoping to get them out shortly.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Take care. Enjoy the warm weather that we've had the last couple days in Colorado if you're here with us. Take care. Bye-bye.
And happy Easter.